Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. For the third time, welcome back to this session on the Stacks DeFi roadmap. So this is a breakout year for Bitcoin DeFi, and we're seeing Stacks really starting to lead the charge with SBDC growth and the DeFi ecosystem on Stacks really starting to gain traction. And so today, I'm joined here with my colleague and friend, Rena. And in this panel, we'll explore what it takes to grow a thriving DeFi ecosystem on Bitcoin. We'll be talking about incentives, onboarding new users, growing liquidity, and how SBDC can become a core building block for the broader Bitcoin ecosystem. So, with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. So, Rena, a lot has happened over the past 3 months since SBDC has gone live. Can you just help to break down what happened in Stacks DeFi in Q1?
Absolutely. So a ton of things have been happening in Stacks DeFi. First, with SBTC going live, we've now raised 3,000 Bitcoin, slowly flowing into all of our DeFi apps between Zest and Granite, Valar, Bitflow, Alex, kind of everything under the sun. We're really showing that Bitcoin can be usable. We're now in this point that we have about maybe 250 million in TVL across our DeFi apps. And so you have a kind of a maturation of assets flowing via DEXs, assets flowing via perpetuals, but then also on-chain stacking. So SBTC actually unlocked on-chain stacking, which is huge because typically we've all stacked directly through the protocol, but with innovations like stacking DAO and Lisa, you can actually earn your rewards directly in SBTC and then use that to farm out a different position across other DeFi apps like Zest. So it's really showing that we're increasing the utilization rate in DeFi. So I believe right now Zest, if I'm not mistaken, has about 450, 460 BTC deployed. That is one of the largest utilization rates in all Stacks DeFi, I think 16%, give or take. And so this is huge that we're proving to the market that people actually want to use their Bitcoin and actually deploy it. What's even more interesting about all of this is that if you are locked in the protocol with SBDC and doing the Bitcoin is more earn program, you're actually earning with your SBDC as is. Now, when you take out a loan with that SBDC, you're earning an interest because of the yield rate that you're getting from the protocol rewards, but then your borrowing rate is even cheaper. So this is actually the best time to borrow against your Bitcoin on Stacks because of the unique incentives that Stacks offers. Two more things I kind of want to touch on for what's going on. USDH, so our friends at Hermetica launched this really interesting dollar Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, and essentially you can use that to take out a futures position on Bitcoin, and basically the team at Hermetica hedges kind of on your behalf so that your dollar earns more. So it's a really interesting protocol. I believe they just started kind of seeding new liquidity. They probably are at maybe 5 million, give or take. And that asset was actually used to launch the perpetuals on Valar for SBDC and Hermetica. So really interesting feature. You can now dollar cost in and kind of take long positions on your Bitcoin.
Yeah, there's been a ton happening. It's been really exciting to see just the clear demand that people want to do more with their Bitcoin, moving it from cold storage and actually deploying it to earn yield and take advantage of these various applications has been really exciting to see. And then I think, one other thing that you mentioned is that with the SBTC yield program, these opportunities can actually compound because with that program, you're earning about a base 3 to 5% APY on your Bitcoin, but then you can go and borrow against it on Zest and then take out a loan and actually unlock new yield opportunities on those stable coins and essentially run these sorts of looping strategies. So seeing these start to take off in Q1 has been exciting, and I think really starting to focus on how do we scale these over the coming months and into the end of the year. Um, so, Rena, a few months ago, you published a update on the Stacks DeFi roadmap, sort of a strategic plan for some of the things that we're working on to grow DeFi in the Stacks ecosystem. You talk about liquidity, especially on some key pairs. How are things progressing?
So we are surely but surely making our way towards our liquidity progress. So we had publicly put out that we want to get about 10 million in a liquidity infusion on key and critical pairs that kind of benefit all of the dApps in our ecosystem. So the first pair is STX SBTC, the second being STX and AEUSDC. AEUSDC is our wrapped asset for a stablecoin until we go for native USDC, which is a work in progress. We already have 8.5, close to 9 million out of the 10 million deployed directly. These are from the Stacks kind of core treasury from various ecosystem entities contributing because we want to make sure these DEX pools are healthy so that people can actually liquidate their loans via Zest or Granite or take out something on the perpetuals via Valar. So we're almost there on our 10 million goal. We likely should hit it in the next couple weeks, if not sooner. And then the bar will have to get raised higher.
Yeah, so really taking the Stacks DeFi ecosystem from 0 to 1, right? Getting over that initial bootstrapping hurdle, it's really where the focus has been. Yeah,
It really is. And like even more so, if you looked at our Q1 stablecoin liquidity across all other ecosystems, by putting in that 6-7 million, we have now grown, I think, 430% from the stablecoin report across other ecosystems. Building that momentum every single month by month brings us into a stronger position as the leading Bitcoin L2 for Bitcoin Fi.
absolutely. And of course, these opportunities can compound where once we get this initial liquidity in, it attracts more users and more traders, and hopefully it just balloons from there. So with that said, I want to get a sense for what's next, what's top of mind. I know you've been working a lot on protocol incentives to attract these new users. How are you thinking about this? What's the approach? Give us some details there.
So, twofold on protocol incentives that we're looking at. The first is directly benefiting our builders. So, the ecosystem has set aside a treasury amount so that builders can actually receive assets to be able to incentivize yield on their own protocol. Now, most of our protocols are pre TGE, and so points programs do need some help to get along the way so that they can finally get to that maturation point that they can TGE. So, the ecosystem is committed behind all of our DeFi dApps, making sure that they have the incentives to come to pass to their users so that our TVL grows collectively. That's like key priority number one. The second is on the institutional side. So we're able to bootstrap our own protocols at 10, 15 million in liquidity, but we're going to need more, especially for other assets as they come into the ecosystem. So we are working with very sophisticated institutions to bring another 50, 60 million into our ecosystem, not only for AEUSDC, but for SBDC as well, making sure that all of that liquidity is 100% deployed on chain. And these institutions are known for looping and farming across and making sure that they're using the plethora of our stack sets. And then number three, less in the incentives, but more as we mature as a DeFi ecosystem. An on-chain market maker has been brought in. They will manage the spreads in depths across our various dexes from Bitflow, Valar, and Alex, making sure that our spreads are tight and that we have as little to none slippage as we can go for.
Yeah. I feel like we've been talking about Bitcoin summer for the past couple of years now, and I think it's finally going to be here this year when we start to put the pieces together of what you're talking about between seeing a lot of the DeFi apps on Stack, starting TGE, getting listings on exchanges, seeing institutions coming in size. It feels like all the pieces are there to really see a breakout year, and we might finally get our Bitcoin summer.
We're gonna get our Bitcoin summer, and like the most important like aspect in all of this is we're actually unlocking bridges too. So we're going to be bringing in liquidity from other ecosystems back into ours, exactly where it belongs. So I'm excited for Axlar to be going live soon and other bridges to come.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Reno, why is interoperability important for DeFi growth?
I think it's really important for the growth of stablecoins in our ecosystem more so than anything else. Bitcoin, let's set that aside, but for teams like Hermetica who are growing their asset, for us growing AEUSDC is kind of our key milestone before native USDC or another kind of tier one stablecoin. We have to meet the market where they are. They're already participating heavily in ETH and Solana and other ecosystems, and we want to make sure that all of that liquidity also flows into Stacks because it is not mutually exclusive of if you hold Solana, you likely hold Bitcoin. And we want to make sure that they're accessing the opportunities that we present as a Bitcoin L2.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think just removing some of that friction for users to onboard from these other ecosystems is going to help a lot with some of these broader DeFi and liquidity goals. So, Rena, I know we're coming up on time. Any final thoughts for folks that you want people to take away from this conversation?
I think what I'm like most excited about is just the quality of one, our builders and what they're running towards. They are creating innovative products on Bitcoin DeFi that hasn't been seen in any other markets. Like just what they are putting out and the measures and steps that they're taking to safeguard people's Bitcoin is key and critical. The second really is just seeing all of the Bitcoin flowing through SBDC and stables and such into our projects. It's about time that Bitcoin and that $1 trillion is finally unlocked and Stacks is pushing it forward.
Yeah, the Bitcoin is going to flow. We've only just scratched the surface. I think I was looking at it recently. It's just over 1% of Bitcoin has been deployed into DeFi and L2s. So just barely starting to scratch the surface. And I think this is going to be a breakout year given all the developments, all the applications that we've talked about here today. So with that said, thank you everyone. Until next time.
Thank you.